Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us for our daily semifinal recap show. I'm your host, Lauren Kalil. We have made it to the final week of semifinals, and we almost have a full picture of who will be competing this year at the CrossFit Games. To help recap all the action from day one of Copa Sur, we have Sergio Sanchez. Only 2 games tickets on the line in each division. You weren't actually there yet today, but for day 2 and day 3, you're going to be on the ground and actually see some live action.
Yes, finally. I mean, I'm a full professor here, so I couldn't be there. I'm actually on Vitoria, which is the city in which Copa Sur is taking place, and the apartment that we rented. So I'm ready to go for day 2 and day 3. But I had a great team there already working with Guilherme Golin and Babi Azevedo and Fabio Broco. So they gave me all the inside informations so I can share them with you.
Sure. And that's what we'll actually first look at is we will jump over to the team's leaderboard. Right off the bat, Sergio, let's start with Q21. They were off to a strong start. They won the first event, the second event. Do you think that they're going to run away with this competition and get all 6 wins?
Well, almost all 6 wins, maybe 5. Is that okay with you? 5? I think 5 is okay. The thing is,
Still pretty good.
yeah, it's still pretty impressive. They are strong, but there are teams that have like higher listed PRs, snatch PRs. So I don't know if in the event of the snatch ladder they will actually win the event. But they have there is one of their competitors that can actually do everything, that is Agustina, because she has a listed PR of 90 kilos, and the last weight is I think 82, 84 kilos. But for the men's, not that much, but they have like 115 kilos, 121 kilos. But you have teams that on the overall, they are stronger. I don't know how they will perform tomorrow, but if they have one event, one workout to lose, that'll be the snatch ladder. Because I think on the rest, they're gonna win it every single one of the events.
What do you think it is about this team that makes them so much further ahead than the other teams that are possibly in contention to punch their ticket?
Well, they have a lot of experience. All of these athletes have been before to the games. And Mato Vizcara, Agustina, and Sabrina de la Justina, they were at the games last year together at the Q21 team. And they just substituted the other male member by Gonzalo Duro, who's also been at the games with Big Rigoleta in 2017. So this is a very experienced team, and they train together, they communicate well. So you can see all the synchronized movements work perfectly. And they shine the first event with the big deadlift bar and the synchronized handstand push-up. A minute ahead the second place in a 4-minute event. That's huge.
When we're looking at the leaderboard, I'll bring it back up, but the point spread between, we have CrossFit Toluca that's 30 points behind, but then after them, teams they're either tied or just a few points behind each other, and it gets really close. So what kind of change up do you think we'll see throughout the weekend?
It's an open field there for the teams. If CrossFit Toluca do well tomorrow, then I think we'll have like 2, which is unfortunate for me because I'm from Brazil, 2 Argentinian teams in the finals. But it's very open. I mean, Ribeirão Preto is a team that trains together. They have won our national championship a couple of times. So it's an experienced team. And they have a lot of synchronized movements later on, so it's going to be good for them. And Cavaleiros is some sort of a new team. So I think the leaderboard will still have huge changes for the final day, but Q21 that's gonna stay.
Moving over to the women's field, that's where things I thought got a little bit interesting because we see a couple of different names at the top of the leaderboard. Number 1 and number 2, Andrea Pinheiro and Laura Gonzalez. Do you think that they're going to stay on top of the leaderboard throughout the weekend, or was today more of a specialty day for these 2 athletes?
Well, I know Andrea pretty well. It's Andrea, I know her, Andrea Pinheiro, and she's a master athlete. She's 39. She's the oldest of the entire elite female competition, and she grows in the arena. She likes to be in a live competition. She was third place at Brazil CrossFit Championship 2 years ago in 2020, when it was the last one, the last sanctioned event that was live. So I think she may like that. I mean, she's very proficient at the legless rope climbs. It's one of her strengths. So probably she'll do well tomorrow also because she's very strong. I don't know. I mean, you have to look up her. She's good in the live competition. She's great actually, and she's trained like for like the last 5 years by the same coach that used to train Guilherme Malheiros, so that took him to the games. So he's an experienced coach. He knows a lot, and he told me she is always ready to compete. So we have to look. Laura Gonzalez was actually quite a surprise for me. I didn't know her very well. She didn't place well last year, not the year before. And she took a seventh and a second. So when you have a swim event, and these were things that complicated, when you have a swim event and a lot of the athletes do not swim at all, we have some female athletes that refuse to swim. They just ran and they stopped there. So this information from the site. Actually, one was even in fifth place after the first event. So she decided not to swim. Then in your proficient swimmer, things can get a little crazy in the leaderboard. I don't know if she'll maintain that, but we'll have to wait and see.
And speaking of swimming, I mean, we only saw one other semifinal, Cape Town program swimming. Do you think that swimming should be programmed in a semifinals, or is that something that you need to see once you get to the games when you have, as many as 15 events versus only 6?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, when you have only six events and one of them involves swimming, which is a very specific form of fitness, I mean, you're kind of, I don't know, you're like prioritizing certain people, and you can do miracles with swimming, right? I mean, I cannot learn how to swim in 2 months. And you usually don't train swimming when in everyday life, unless, of course, you're going to the games. I know that Malheiros trained swimming a lot in the lake at Mayhem. Felipe told me that. Felipe, which works there in the United States, very good friend. But I mean, most of these athletes don't train swimming. So with 6 events only, I think that's kind of unfair. I wouldn't put in the semifinals, no.
Were there any other women today that stood out to you or that surprised you based on their ranking, good or bad, on the leaderboard?
Well, Melina Rodriguez kind of surprised me for not doing so well as we expected. I talked to her, and she told me that her weakness was running and swimming. So I was not expecting her to do well in that workout. I mean, she took 16th. But when you are bad at something, you have to be great at everything else. I mean, you saw that with Haley Adams, right? She got a 33rd on the complex, and then she went amazing on the others. And she took a 6th on the first event. Now she's at 8th place, and she's pretty far from the first 2, almost 50 points. So she has a lot of grounds to recover. And I'm very excited. I mean, I was hoping them to do well, but Victoria Campos and Julia Cato are really doing great here. And unfortunately, Louisa Marquis, which is a previous games athlete as a teen, she went 3 times to the games. She did not do as well, but she's still ahead of Melina. So we'll have to wait and see.
All right, moving right along to the men's leaderboard. It looks like it might finally be finalized. We don't know 100%. It's not on the CrossFit Games website just yet, but based on the changes we've seen, it does look like it's at least nearly accurate at this point. But first, just right off the bat, Guy at the top of the leaderboard. We all know that he's one of the favorites and is likely to punch his ticket to the game. But were you surprised on how well he did getting that first place in the swimming event?
Yeah, I actually was. I mean, swimming was not his strength, and as I said, he's been training with Mayhem. But I was not expecting him to win the event actually, because you have very good swimmers. I mean, the guy that came in 2nd place, which is Bruno Marins, he's an excellent swimmer, and he lives by the ocean. He swims regularly, according to his coach. So I was expecting actually him to win and Malheiros to do well, right? Not as well, which means that he's actually, since in this last year with the Mayhem crew, he's been filling up all his weakness, and I mean, he's gonna take all the events, that's for sure.
When we're talking about that run, swim, run event, and we mentioned that the leaderboard might still not fully be finalized, that was part of the delay today, is that it wasn't finalized. There were some things happening behind the scenes. Do you have any insight of what was going on with that event, why the leaderboard took so long to actually show up?
Yeah, well, I do actually. I talked to some coaches that actually filed complaints with the director of the event, because what happened was they had to leave the beach and go around two floats and then come back. And according to the athletes and the coaches, some of them just did not go around two floats. They only went around one of the floats on the ocean. So they did a shortcut and they swim a lot less than the others. So they have to revise a lot of videos and talk to the judges there and try to identify which athlete did that so they can get punished. And they were punished by adding extra time, which also is kind of unfair because if you swim less, you're less fatigued for the second running.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, especially if you don't swim that much. I mean, the fatigue can be very extreme. So it's kind of unfair, but I think actually they actually now could analyze everything and punish some athletes. We don't know who. It would be nice for the organization to do. Oh, we'll punish this athlete because of that. But this is why it was taking so long. And from what I've heard, I mean, there are still athletes complaining about their placement according to what is we see now, even now.
Okay. Well, and maybe throughout the weekend we'll hear more. Maybe they'll say something. It's always really hard to see who's who when they're in the water event. There's really no way to identify people when their faces are down, and then you just see a bunch of jacked men and women swimming.
Yeah, that's why on the CrossFit Games they have this. How do you call it for
The swim
swimming?
caps.
The swim caps with numbers, right? They should have that. They didn't have swim caps with numbers, and well, probably the life of the judge revisiting the views, reviewing the videos. Sorry, reviewing the videos was a nightmare. That's for sure.
That's a job I don't want.
Yeah.
Okay, so today, were there any possibly notable athletes on the men's side that ultimately had to withdraw from the competition?
Yeah, unfortunately, Kaique Cervini, and he's a very strong athlete. He withdrew after the first event. Actually, I talked to his coach and I talked to him. My team talked to him, Bobby and Guilherme talked to him. And a month ago, more or less, he was starting to feel his lower back. And it was like pinching, and he was sensing on all his leg. So he decided to look at it, and he has a hernia, and he wanted to compete very, very badly. So he came there. He came here. He said, "If I place well in the first event, which has a lot of deadlifts, if I place well at the first event, then I'll continue, or else it's just gonna be not worthy." And he did not did well in the first event. I think he placed 17, and then he decided to withdraw, unfortunately. And he was one of the favorites. He was a last chance qualifier last year, and he placed 8th. So we're kind of hoping to see him shine again, but we have to wait another year. He's young. He has time for that.
It's always good when they're young in their career. They have time to get healthy and come back. On the men's side, were there any other athletes that surprised you or that really stood out after day one?
Yes. Pedro Martins was in second place, and I'm very happy because I'm a huge fan and friend. And he actually had his surgery on his shoulder early this year. So he competed at the Open like a month after the surgery.
Oh, wow.
Said, I just need to qualify. And he did that. Then on the quarterfinals, he was a bit better. And now he said, I'm full 100%. okay, and I have improved. I don't feel any pain. So it's very nice to see him in second place. And he's a strong athlete also. He probably will do very well tomorrow in the barbell complex, not as well as Guy, but he'll do well. I mean, nobody will do as well as Guy, right? So there's no point
Do
trying
you
to get
think that
close.
Gia is gonna? Do you think that Gia is gonna break the record tomorrow?
Well, when Copa Sur posted the Instagram that the previous record was 345 pounds,
Yeah.
he said that would be my warm up.
Oh, I love that.
That's
I
what he
cannot wait.
said. I mean, and his PR, his clean jerk PR is 177 kilos. I don't know how much that is in pounds precisely, but 177 kilos is a lot, and it's the biggest in the field. So
You said
yeah, he's
177 kilos?
177 kilos. Yeah,
Yeah, that's 390 pounds. That's a hefty
yeah,
load.
clean
Holy
and
crap.
jerk PR. Yeah, precisely. Holy crap defines it.
Yeah. There's no better phrase for that.
Yeah, there are a couple of athletes that are 170 kilos, which is also a lot, but
Yeah.
177 is only him. So yeah, I think he's gonna break the record tomorrow. He's gonna try for sure.
All right. So who else are you watching as we move into day 2 of competition?
Agustin Riquelme. I mean, he was the favorite for the second spot because I don't think anybody thought that he was not going to win this, and he was the favorite for the second spot. And he took fourth in the first event and eighth in the second. I was hoping for him to get better in the second event because he's a good swimmer.
Mm.
And so he's at fourth place now. I'm a little bit surprised by Gustavo Hicko. Was not expecting him. And Anderon Primo, which is he won like 5 times our national championship. So he took third in the first event and 16th on event 2. So he's gonna have a lot of grounds to go up. But he's like the crowd favorite. He's the Mr. Nice Guy of CrossFit here in Brazil. So everybody loves him and everybody cheers for him always. So we'll have to
Will
wait
be
and see
fun when
if the crowd will push him to the top.
Yeah, and you're going to have to let us know since you'll be at the event tomorrow. You'll be able to give us an inside look at what the atmosphere was like. And day 2, it's moving day on the leaderboard. So we're going to see how things shake up. I'm so excited, Sergio.
I'm very excited also. The two tests from CrossFit will be tomorrow. So let's just wait and see.
We'll see how things pan out. Thanks, Sergio. We'll see you again tomorrow.